This field is pretty competitive and it's going to get more competitive. UX is both creative as well as scientific. If they want to make 50 lakhs a year.
So without further ado, my name is Sanskar and this is the Developers Café podcast. I hope nobody's listening, but if you are, keep it to yourselves.
Yeah, so I'm a UX. I'm originally a UX designer based out of Delhi, India, and I originally started off with freelancing, then moved on to a full-time career in UX, and then basically got sick of it. So quit my job to start my own design school, which is now pretty well known and successful. Apart from that, I get a chance to work with some wonderful companies on some wonderful projects and some wonderful collaborations, etc. So that's a lot of fun. I'm also a YouTuber in UX UI design as well. So that's the area that I like to kind of specialize in, and do content creations like my thing. I like doing it. For sure, I'm passionate about it. So Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, whatever, wherever I can share content, I just try and do it.
Cool. So Punit, to start off, why did you choose UI UX, or why did you think that this can be something which you can work on for the next 5-10 years?
That's a very interesting question, actually. Never been asked that question before. So I think the reason why I chose this career path and I realized, oh, this is where I really want to go, is I believe is primarily because I've always had a very entrepreneurial, idea-based mindset. That I want to work on this idea, I want to work on this project, or I want to work on this problem, solving this problem. What if we could do this? That's my attitude since I was a kid. Like my grandparents, my parents, all of them told me you should get into marketing or sales or something, because I was always good at selling things to people and kind of attracting people to kind of get them attracted to something, basically. So I think all that kind of resonated with UX as well, and I was always a techie as well. So I realized I suck at coding, even though I can do it. I mean, if you ask me to build a website with SAS, HTML, PHP, whatever, I can do it. But it's never been like my thing. So I realized this, all of my skills, all of the things that I was gifted with, kind of seep into this whole field of UX, and it's pretty interesting and creative. So I think this is an area I can always expand on. And when I got into UX, I also realized there's so many other paths in this field as such. Where you can go, you can do research, you can do product management, product design, whatever you like, you can do it. So I think it's one of the most expansive areas right now. So that really helped out as well.
Interesting. So, how do you think, if a beginner wants to start, what is the best way to learn UI UX? Like, there can be multiple ways. Someone prefers watching videos, someone prefers building a tutorial project, or you just learn by doing. So, what do you suggest is the best way to figure out your journey or your place in the UI UX world?
I'd say there's no people do ask me similar questions like this, in the sense that, what should the path be? But I think for everyone, there is a very unique path to take, because right now this field is pretty competitive, and it's going to get more competitive as we go forward. So when we're talking about a field like UX, which is both creative as well as scientific, or whatever you want to call it, it has a gist of everything. I think the best way is to start with a base, and your base is just literally getting you started. So a solid base is something everyone should have. That's whether there is competition or not, everyone should have a solid base. And after that, every block you put on top of it defines the building you're building, essentially, metaphorically. So metaphorically, if you're building a building, it's up to you which floor should have what. Like Ambani's house has McDonald's, swimming pool, whatever. He put that building together himself. Whatever he wanted as a kid, he put it in that. So um, if you're a UX designer and you want to get to a certain point in life, what are the kind of skill sets you need? What's the base that you need? And what are the your specialities that will help you kind of get ahead from the competition, essentially. A lot of designers these days are only focused on UX and UI. Whether I believe there's so many parallels to them. For example, a UI designer, if he's really good at interaction or motion design, motion design is his forte. So a UI designer will be able to add a lot of cool motion graphics or a lot of cool interactions in the mock-ups or whatever he's building, and that way he's differentiating himself. So I think differentiating yourself is very important and kind of missed by a lot of people. And people think differentiating yourself means your designs look different. It's not true. It's what are the parallels that you choose? I think that's the building blocks, the parallels. 3D interaction, motion. You got there are people who are experts in color and color science in general. There are some people who are great illustrators. So whatever things that you can apply inside UI UX, could be illustrations, could be typography, could be a type artist, and also be a UI designer. So you'll make the best type based websites in the world. So that's kind of how you can differentiate yourself and really grow from there.
So just coming back to this question again, you mentioned that you have to differentiate yourself. So can you touch upon that a little bit more? Like how can someone differentiate themselves from the majority of the designs out there?
Yeah, that's I think designs all have similar UX now, because user experience in general is so user behavior based that everybody's used to a certain behavior. So experimenting too much with your UX means you're risking your business for some interesting functionality or look. But when it comes to the visuals, the UI, the actual innovation you can do, I feel there are certain areas like AR and VR which aren't explored as much. So if you're building an AR VR project, you can experiment more with it. But if you're working on, say, a food delivery app, until and unless you're actually really solving a new issue that has arisen, or a new interesting idea that nobody's ever thought of, I think building or designing anything is useless. So if you really want to differentiate yourself, and there's less to no space to differentiate in the problems solving method, so as to say, I think the best way is to look at it from the point of view of differentiating a project in terms of how you came to that design. So when it comes to case studies, I see so many people making similar case studies, and it's okay. I mean, okay, cool. But even in my design school, or even in whatever lectures I've given, wherever I've gone, whatever, I've always told this to people is show the activities that you did to kind of prove that you can do those activities in a company also. So basically, if you have a UX case study to do, make sure content is unique, or as I said, do things which are most people aren't doing. For example, I saw somebody's portfolio long back. I was reviewing it, and in one of their projects, they literally had photos of them going out. I think it was an app for like people of lower income groups, and he was going to chawls and busties and everywhere just to figure out their problems, and he was taking pictures and just making a unique gallery out of it. Catcha, this was my I shadowed these people, or whatever he was doing with it. So it was very interesting, and it was really out of the blue to see something like that. So I think if you can differentiate yourself there, That's even better than anything else.
Awesome. So in the previous answer, Puneet, you brought up two things: that UX designing is both creative and has some scientific rules behind it, some scientific things which you cannot escape. So as a UX
Uh,
designer, how do you maintain that balance? Like you have to show your creativity as well and have to maintain some principles, some criterias. So how do you get that balance?
I feel it's always, as I said earlier, it's about um, what are the areas that you can look at when it comes to experimenting. So if you're looking at in the direction of a structure or a layout or a pattern, as we call it in the industry, um, those patterns can be experimented or worked on in the long run. So if you're working on a project which is like a continuous iteration you have to do for a certain application for the next 2 years. You really build, the company has told you, let's build this product over time, let's add more features, let's do this, that. So you get a lot of time to kind of research, experiment, test, things you don't get to do very often with say a one-time project, or a one-time, okay, just launch it and now it's gone. So if you are following an iterative process, if you're following your typical design process, you'll get a lot of time to research, etc. So if you're researching and testing, you'll get a lot of opportunities to experiment with. So I always tell people, if you're not investing in doing sprints, then you're kind of lacking somewhere. Sprints allow you to kind of push out new features, test them out. If they come out well, great. If they don't come out well, you pull them back, and you put the old thing back there. So I think this Google, Instagram, Facebook, all these giants do this very often. Like if you'll sometimes see a new feature on Instagram, you're like, "Ye kya hai?" And two days later, it's back to the normal. If you're a UX designer, you'll notice these things. So companies like these keep on trying new things, and they don't even release a feature to everyone. First they do like a little alpha release or a beta
Okay.
release, then they might test it with some people or some creators. So the best way to balance is just to test out as much as possible, because then you're able to kind of get that creative process going without having to cut down on the UX patterns and the behaviors of users. Then you're able to test out whether they'll be able to uh, use this with their current behavioral patterns.
Yeah.
Sometimes, just a quick point. Sometimes certain companies have the ability to change behaviors. For example,
True.
Apple. Let's take Apple for example. They've always, especially in the beginning, now I'm not sure as much, but especially in the beginning, that was their first iPhone, or the one of the first uh, you know um, editing tools that they had on the computer, or whatever firsts they came up with, people weren't used to, but they just had to adjust because that was all they had. So for example, tomorrow if Instagram comes up with a feature, like Instagram had a major redesign from its old look to the new look. A lot of people hated it. They were like, what kind of look is this, or it's very confusing, or whatever. 3 months down the line, people forgot about it. Now nobody talks about it, and it's what we're used to now. So a giant company has more space to be able to test, experiment, and just fiddle with people's behaviors, as compared to, say, a small startup.
True. Awesome. So now let's talk about some folks who want to start with UX development, UX designing, sorry. So if in my first year of college, let's say I have tried my hands on mobile development, website development, JavaScript, blockchain, I have tried all these domains. And now I figured out that UX designing is something which I want to give 1.5 years and let's see where it takes me. I'm ready to invest that time. So now, what should be your advice be to me? Like, let's call it mentorship or career advice. Like, at what stage, what should I look for? What projects should I go for? What internship should I do? Should I do
Yeah.
freelancing or internships? What sort of pathway should I follow?
So the best part about being in college and doing like a couple of years back, I was also in the same position. I was trying to experiment and kind of see where things take me. Um, but there were a couple of things that I did and I learned a lot from personal experiences. Um, the first thing that I really learned a lot from was when you're young, you can like do whatever you want. Until I turn like 30, I'm just gonna experiment as much as I possibly can. That's the kind of, aim that I have for myself. So another 4 5 years, I'm just gonna be experimenting as much as I can. You know, so I think if you have, it's more about the mindset then. It's less about what you're doing than the mindset that you've created. So if you have a mindset of, oh, I'm just going to experiment till I'm 30. I don't care if I'm broke. I don't care if I get super rich next year. I don't care. So a lot of people are confined by these factors. Things like, oh, I need to quickly start making money. Oh, I need to support this person or whatever it is. And certain people, it might be something which they have to live with. Certain people, they'll sacrifice it. There are people who do make sacrifices, even like sacrifices of not being able to support their family or whatever, just to so that they can follow their dreams. And if you are lucky enough, your family will support you no matter what. So it's more about creating a mindset of nothing to lose. I'm just gonna every year I'm gonna try 2 to 3 new experiments, try to do things out of my comfort zone. Most designers don't do that. They're trying to follow a certain path and get to where they want to be just by guidance and mentorship and this that. But I mean, that's something that our school is doing, is helping those students who want to get there with a given path. But if you really want to stand out, if you really want to be different and leave your mark, I think that's not the way you should go. But even if you want a normal career, I think it's here are a few phases I've been through. Learning and freelancing while you're learning. So that's the stage where you're trying to do like $10 projects or $20 projects, just to like 1 or 2 screens, just because you're new and you're learning and you just want to get a taste of it. You then go to Upwork and freelance and Fiverr and those kind of places. Then there's a stage of just freelancing as much as possible. Then you're trying to get actual physical clients in the real world, not in just Fiverr pe jaake order aa rahe hain, things like that. So those things then don't matter that much. So you're going to networking events, this that, and you're getting real life projects, which are you might be earning 50,000 a month, 1 lakh a month by that time, and that's really creating a good base for you. Then after that, it generally comes, you either take your freelance career to the next level by forming your own studio. So my friends at Procreator, which is a well-known design studio based out of Mumbai, they have a similar story of starting as freelancers or people who are doing certain projects, come together and form a team and then hire new people as they get more projects. So that's I think there are a lot of videos on YouTube now on how to start with your own design studio. So I think that's one way to go, or you go to the full-time route or entrepreneurship route. So 2 3 routes mainly you can go into, and you can form your niche there. And I went to the job route after freelancing and then into entrepreneurship. So if you find a niche where you can build a business or you can sell a product, go for it, I feel.
Awesome. That is some great advice, Puneet. Puneet, you touched upon your design school a couple of times. I have
Yeah.
also seen it, like Designwings, right? So
Yeah.
what's your mission with it? What's your like vision with it? Like, what are you planning to achieve from that?
So currently, the entire mission or the entire goal for is not attached to one company, so as to say. Designwings is a stepping stone into this direction of educate, bringing better design and tech education in general to people in India, and helping them become more enterprising. Unfortunately, a lot of companies these days are hiring designers and they're treating them as workers. So we really want to make sure that the designers who come through Designwings or Feather Academy, which is going to be our upcoming project where we'll be teaching people short-term courses to kind of help them get into these fields and be more enterprising, is to be able to kind of stand on their own feet, demand what they really want, and get what they really want. If they want to earn 15 lakhs a year, let them earn 15 lakhs a year. If they want to make 50 lakhs a year, then let them make 50 lakhs a year. So helping designers just realize there's no true you know stopping point. It just keeps on going, and as I said, parallels, building parallels for people, helping them understand what their parallels can be, and helping them differentiate themselves. So these are areas which most companies unfortunately don't focus on because they're trying to churn out more students. But that's we try to focus more on the internals here. So that's kind of the goal, and that's always going to be the goal with whichever company I open, or even when we're doing projects with so we're doing some projects with some major companies right now on their websites, apps, stuff like that, and it's been going great. But you know that's the kind of mindset I want to give to everybody, is you can also go ahead and do that.
So, Punit, when we look to the future with these NFTs and metaverse, what do you think are the opportunities for designers in this space?
Uh, I just feel every part of the tech development in general, if we look at, plays its own role and plays in the field of technology in general. So when it comes to the blockchain, I think blockchain opens up so many new areas and companies and potential products that people can work on, and that has a lot of you know positive consequences where more people can get hired. There's a new kind of sort of thinking that it kind of leads into. For example, there are a lot of new design trends that Web3 in general kind of brought into the mainstream. Things like neo-brutalism, or just a more bold look to a lot of things, and people start to like that. So I think a lot of good things are happening because of Web3 and NFTs in general. For example, Amrit, who's behind Toy Faces, was able to make history because his Toy Faces went viral, and then he took out an NFT, and now he's full time into NFTs. So he was able to follow his dreams and become a true artist. And it's before that he was just taking on client work for 3D. So now he's just into full-time NFT creation and trading and helping others with it. So I think it's a very unique space. As long as it stays positive, it's great. Unfortunately, a lot of people are using it negatively, or just for a quick, rug pull, as they call it.
All right. So, if you're a UX designer and looking for a job, so you need to have proof of work. You need to show them that, okay, I have done so and so stuff. So that is why I can do my work for you. All right. So what do you suggest? How should someone build their portfolio? What sort of projects should someone have in their portfolios?
Interesting. So I think proof of work can stem from anything. Proof of work can be your personal project. Proof of work can be, of course, if you've done it commercially, on a commercial basis with a company or with an individual, I think it's always a plus. That's why I tell people, do internships, do freelancing as much as possible. People think one internship in your college life is enough. Do like one a year. We're talking about minimum one a year. I was doing like 3 internships at once. So I was just trying to get as much under my belt as possible. Quality was okay, but quantity was my focus. So in your initial years, try to get as much quantity in, because then what happens is a lot of people look at you as someone who's done a variety of stuff, a variety of this guy has done in this area also. So for example, tomorrow you want to work for a company who sells sports goods online, and by chance you did like 100 projects in college, and one of them was a sports good website. So it's it's something that is very interesting to look at. Is
True.
whichever field you are in, and if you're doing a lot of quantity, somebody's gonna be able to resonate with something out of that
Hmm.
quantity. But if you have like two
Makes sense.
projects which are, say, not in their field, you've done one healthcare app, and you've done one um, I don't know, pulse reading app or something. An e-commerce company might not approach you because you've not done anything in e-commerce. But if you had, done short projects which kind of added up, and there was one e-commerce project in that also, an e-commerce company might approach you and they'll be like, oh, we saw that you've done a cool e-commerce project, we have an e-commerce app, would you be looking to work in this? Another way is to kind of um, break projects down. A lot of people think making
Hmm.
one big project is
True.
what is important. Unfortunately, that's not what people are really looking for. I Till date on my Behance, I have like two complete projects. And everything else is just broken down pieces of other projects I've done in the past. Of course, I haven't touched UX in the past like 2 years or something, like full time at least. So I don't have enough to update, but definitely break down projects. If you're solving three problems in one application, break it down into three projects. Who's stopping you from that? That way you have that allure of, oh, this guy's done a lot of work, and at the
Hmm.
same time
Interesting.
this quality of, okay, I stuck to this problem statement. you know so you can talk a lot about, and at the end of the day you have to talk about it also. Like when you're in an interview, you have to talk about your projects or the things that you've done, or you have to explain what you've done here and here and here. So if you have like a very long project, you might even forget some parts of it. So short project, easy to remember, easy to explain, easy to market, easy to publish. It's quick. So I think
True.
more efficient for sure.
True. Amazing, man. Thanks for doing this. Had a lovely session with you. I'm sure that the folks will gain a lot out of this podcast. And like, thanks for doing this. So,
Thanks, man. Thanks for inviting me. And I mean, keep on doing this, man. Cool stuff that you're into.